1,000 volunteers, they staff 650 Bay Area rock shows per year, providing everything from mosh pit wound relief to earplugs to mental health counseling. To find out more about volunteering or to donate, visit www.rockmed.org.
Okay, and we've got KS Birds is starting to come in here. We're going to give them some microphones to speak into. And, my mic too. I don't know if that one's working. You want to test that over there?
Hello.
Sounds good. I think it must be working. And have you?
Hello.
There we go. Sounds good. So the light's just broken.
Hello.
Welcome to College Radio with broken lights on our board. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Tell everyone out there your name, what you do in the band, and all that sort of thing.
Hey, I'm Matt Ray, and I play bass.
I'm Nikki Nicole. I play drums.
Nicole.
I'm Willard Morton. I do an approximation of guitar and schlepp gear.
I'm Megan Adkins. I sing and play guitar.
And one of the things that I wanted to ask you, the first thing I remembered was how I found out about this band, even though we were neighbors for years, is that you went on a tour to was it all?
England,
it was all England.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned something like you guys were really big in England. It made me think of that Alphaville song, Big in Japan, or Tom Waits' Big in Japan. How did that come about? Do you guys have a lot of friends there, or family, or?
Yeah.
It was a very interesting tale. I made Facebook friends with someone who I'd never met in my life, who was friends with someone else I'd never met in my life. And this guy heard, we have all of our songs are on YouTube. And he heard one of them and started playing it on his Facebook page. And within like a week, we had an agent, like a manager, and a label, and they wanted to book us a tour, and we all were in a position to say yes. So it just
That's pretty fantastic, the miracles of the community, the internet community.
And we still haven't met that guy. In
real
real life.
The original one, he actually never made it to any of the shows, which is kind of amazing.
That's kind of
It's
weird.
almost like, is he real?
Yeah, is he real?
At first, I was pretty sure it was just an elaborate hoax. Like someone was going, I know what we can do. This will really mess up her mind. We'll just pretend people in England really like their music.
But we also have to talk about East Bay Fur, because Megan and I actually both had dreams, competing dreams for years. We were in another band together, Mavis Piggott, and we had dreams after Mavis Piggott that we were at the airport, we were
flying to England
to
do a tour.
And finally, you had the
ultimate
dream that we were going on tour, and you looked at me.
And I said to Nikki, what band are we in? Because I knew we weren't still in Mavis, and I was like, what band are we in? And she said, you don't know the name of the band? Look at the flyer. So I went through all of our stuff, and I found the flyer, and the name that we were playing under was East Bay Fur.
Oh.
Which is,
I was like,
should be a side
weird.
project.
Totally.
I thought you were saying you were going through the dream in looking for the name of the band.
That's really happened
that was
in our
the dream.
Really? Both of you had the
She
same?
had that dream.
No,
We
I
both
had
had
the-
dreams that we were going to England and touring. But that was the dream that we were finally really at the airport and everything. So.
Maybe one of you in your dreams or sleepwalking, you sleep Facebooked and you made this thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was probably me. I'm a little bit of a Facebook.
How did it go? How was the experience?
It was amazing. It was amazing. The tour that Mavis was on was in '95 that we went to England and Europe, and it was probably the worst experience of my entire life. I'm sure that Nikki wouldn't say that because her experience of it was much better.
Yeah.
So for me, it was one of those things where you can erase old memories and replace them with something amazing and fantastic. And so for me, that's what happened. I would say for all of us, it was pretty.
And we got to play, or you got to play the same place in Dublin Castle.
Yeah, we
got
to play
same
it.
place. So it was like redemption.
Yeah.
Redemption show. Actually, that was a really small turnout show, but whatever.
It was,
but still, it was.
But it was a good
redemption.
show,
We
right?
had amazing fans. Like maybe there was only 5 people there, but 2 or 3 of the people that were there came up to us afterwards, like practically in tears, and were just like,
"Wow,
you blew my mind." I mean, just one person per show. If you can just turn one person, you know.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. So when you had been there previously, and I guess what was that, about 20-ish years ago, 18 years ago?
Years ago.
Was it like the whole kind of like playing in squats and?
Oh no,
no.
We were playing in clubs, but I was there in the '80s. And
that's maybe
party and
that's what I was thinking of, because I know you and I had talked about Bremen and punks and stuff like that. Yeah. So, well, tell me a little bit about how this band came to be out of the ashes of the other band. Were you guys just continuing to play together, or did you?
No, actually not at all. In fact, Will and I had moved from Oakland back to DC, where I'm from, and where the three of us are from. Willie's actually from Berkeley, but the rest of us have known each other since high school age. And we moved back to DC, and my grandmother had recently passed away. And I don't know if anybody else has ever had this experience, and it's certainly really bizarre, but I'm fairly positive that my grandmother, like, I don't want to say she possessed me, but she somehow got into my unconscious mind and started telling me whacked out stories about my family. And so I started writing these songs and later found out that they were actually true. These were true stories that I had somehow intuited. I mean, very specific.
It's just like the
crazy
airport.
Yeah, I know.
I think you guys have a lot of psychic power going on
yeah,
here.
We actually really do.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Willie and I started that in 2004. And in 2005, we moved to LA and we played with some friends there, but Willie couldn't deal with LA at all.
Sorry.
So.
No, I don't think you have to apologize. We all understand.
And we just played as a three-piece with a bass player for a while, and then got down to a two-piece acoustic. And then when this Facebook thing happened, I just was like, Matt and Nikki, we're going to be in a band that goes to England. I mean, the Dreams have been telling me that this was going to happen for the past 5 years, so now we really have to do it. So we did an Indiegogo campaign, and we raised some money and had a lot of support.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I saw that, and I thought it was a really cool idea, and I think a lot more bands are starting to kind of get into that.
Yeah.
How did that work? Was it successful?
It was. It really was.
It made the difference of us going around.
Yeah,
it made it possible.
Absolutely. And you know what's weird is there were a lot of people, and just in general this kind of freaks me out, but there's a lot of people who are totally opposed to bands asking for money to go play music, and I don't know. It just really made me focus on the community that loves you. You know, if you can find a community of people that love you and want to see you, then cater to them.
Yeah.
And I think that the climate in music today is kind of shifting in that direction. Like, you can't just play for anybody because it costs you. You end up having to pay just to play for people.
It's really true, and Carolyn and I were speaking about it while you guys were playing because we were discussing your Indiegogo campaign, and I mean before that bands would just do a benefit show or something, so it's not any different. It's just a different way of getting some help to go on and do a tour. You know, I played many shows for other bands that were going to Europe, and we just gave them all the money, and I always thought. Why am I doing it? It's like, whatever, they're friends. Let's help them out, you know?
It's an
People,
investment.
it is, you know, and you hope that, you know, maybe when it's your turn, it'll come around. But, you know, and the most important thing is getting the music out there. And like you said, you know, the one thing that I think we're seeing, and we're probably all in the same age range now, is like, there was maybe a time when there was a music industry. Now the music is really...
We are the industry.
Yeah, it's your thing. It's your... You know, nobody's going to make $1 million off it. A lot of people are just funding themselves, and they're doing their art, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think the campaign was a good thing.
Yeah.
Thanks. I also I went through this whole phase where I had one friend in particular who really was kind of against it, and like it occurred to me because he was like, we just used to get in the van and go on tour and DIY, and it occurred to me like that there's actually no such thing as DIY really, because you always have a community supporting you, and we've found that, I don't know if it's because we're older, this isn't our hometown, or something like that. We don't really have a community in real life, other than in Manchester for some odd reason.
But a lot of people in the UK want to see us.
But we don't have that, you know, we don't have lots of friends here in the Bay Area that are in bands. Like when we grew up in DC, it was just like such an intense punk scene. You know, you'd go to 3 shows a week, and like everybody knew everybody. Everybody was in a band. So that's how it was possible to do things like go on tour. But if you're just out there on your own, it's really hard. And then also I think life gets in the way. You have families, and then I got on this whole kind of, feminist rant about it because like women. I have a kid, and like like I couldn't just stay in the van and stay on tour for months and months at a time to make it pay off because, I have things to do at home. And
well, in Europe is a whole, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And
so.
I'm too old to sleep on the couch in a squat.
Yeah, we did our time. We did our times in squats, which actually
done.
some of the squats in Germany, as you know, are some of the nicest.
Yeah,
on earth.
Oh man, you eat really well.
They
Although I have friends that have gone and gotten really sick because they're meat eaters, so they have that. I need meat. I'm gonna go to the hospital now because I didn't eat meat for 30 days. It's like whatever, but you gotta have your calcium. Well, tell me about the formation of all you guys getting together with Matt here.
Yeah.
Like, how did you guys find him? Had he and Nikki, have you guys known each other?
We actually
from high
We were all
school,
part of
right?
the same music scene in DC. And
So were you living here in the Bay Area now?
Yeah,
or?
I've been out here for quite a
I
while.
see.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's in the city.
Okay.
we
And
were
then
just hanging out. So
But the thing about Matt is that when we were growing up, Matt was like the coolest, most
thank you.
crazy riffing guitar player in town, and
Go on.
he hadn't played for a long time, and so recently we'd been hanging out, and he was kind of lamenting that he had lost touch with music and playing music and being in bands because that was something we all grew up with. And so when this opportunity came about, I just thought, what group of people do I want to go hang out in England with? Like, how can I make a band out of that group of people? And I thought, oh, okay, this is perfect. We'll just get Matt to play bass, and he can totally play circles around all of us playing guitar. But if we give him an instrument that is not his first, then he'll be like on the level of the rest of us.
I love bass.
that's a really good idea.
Yeah, and he's an amazing bass player, so it turned out it just worked. I mean, I really believe that something extra outside of us was at work there because everything just fell into place in such a weird. Oh my God!
Well, I think
all these doors open.
I think just the whole thought of like, hey, these are the three people that I want to be hanging out with in England. I think that's perfect right there.
What I said when we were in England, we rented an apartment in Manchester instead of getting hotels all over the country, and we would just drive back to Manchester. And at one point, like, I had dragged my mattress into the other bedroom, and so there's three of us in one room, and I'm laying there on the floor, and I was like, you guys, if some crazy gypsy crystal ball person had come into Mr. Gardner's English class in high school and had said, Megan, it's gonna take 30 years, but you and Nikki, the girl with the green hair sitting behind you, and Matt Ray, the guy whose picture you're drawing in your notebook, the three of you are gonna be in a band with your husband. It's gonna be in 2013. Can you wait that long? I would have just flipped out. I mean, I was probably pretty high at the time. But who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
It was great. I remember being in the flat in Manchester, and we come back from a show, and it'd be 2 a.m, and we're driving in our van. We get out of the van, and we go and we sit in one room. And our tour manager, who was staying in the flat with us, he'd be out in the living room, and he'd come in. He's like, guys, there's a whole flat here. You can sit it out if you want. And we're like, why?
This might be the future of touring. Just get your best friends together, form a band.
Something.
Go out there, do it, and then go back like once a year.
Yeah.
Go back and do it. And because you have families, because you have other stuff going on, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And Europeans always tend to be more welcoming.
Yeah,
They really
do.
want
They're
you.
more
More
open.
supportive.
Yeah.
More interested.
More interested.
Really want to talk to you about it and give you hugs and say, when are you going to play again? We'll drive 5 hours to see you.
Yeah.
And they'll buy your merch too.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about, especially England, is the generational thing, intergenerational thing that happens in pubs. So the youngest person that bought a shirt and was into us was 12, and like the oldest person was like 80.
Peter O'Hare with no hair.
82. So that
That's
just
what he
doesn't
called
happen
himself.
here.
Yeah, that doesn't happen here. And it was pretty amazing. The age range was phenomenal. I don't think I've ever had that experience where 70, 80-year-old dudes coming up afterwards saying,
That's
you know,
right.
I was around in the 70s, and I gotta say, it really reminded me of